So in this video, we're going to talk about how to use quadratic functions to model data on your TI calculator. So sometimes when we're plotting data in a scatter plot, the data may have a curved pattern. So in these cases, you'll need to use a quadratic regression to write an equation that best models the data. So in this video, I'm going to go over the instructions on how to do it in your TI calculator. So suppose we want to write a quadratic equation to model this data set. Remember, you always start off by going to Stat and hitting Enter on Edit. Since we already have values, we're going to go up and then highlight the title, click clear, and then enter. Okay, so just go ahead and do that on both columns. And now we're going to type in our values. So in L1, we're going to type in our X values. So we have 0, 10, 20, 30, and 40. And then in our L2, we're going to do all our Y values. So we're going to do 489, 801, 1202, 1998, and 2959. So once we have our values entered, we are going to go ahead and go to Stat, arrow right to calculate, and then choose option 5, which is quadratic regression. Okay, since we want it to write a quadratic this time. So now keep hitting enter until calculate is highlighted, and then click enter again. And it does give us the values of A, B, and C that we need to write our quadratic equation. Okay, so A is 1.21, so we have 1.21x squared, plus B, which is 13, plus 504.26, which is our value of C. Okay, so now let's try this example. So it gives us a quadratic equation, and it says that it models the average number of registered automobiles per licensed driver in the U.S. from 1950 to 2010, where X is the number of years since 1900. Use the equation to estimate the number of automobiles per licensed driver in 1987. Okay, so it's important here to notice that X is the number of years since 1900. Okay, so X is not the exact number of the year, right? It's not like 1987. We have to figure out how many years it's been since 1900. So we're going to do 1987 minus 1900. And so that means that X is 87, right? Because that's 87 years after 1900. So we just plug into this equation. So we have Y equals negative 0.0002 times 87 squared. Plus 0.0334 times 87 minus 0.5033. Okay, so now this is a bunch of number crunching, so I'm going to do this on my calculator. So I have negative 0.0002 times 87 squared, and then plus 0.0334 times 87, and then minus 0.5033. Okay, and then when we hit enter, it gives us the value, which is Y equals 0.8887. Okay, and we can just round that to 0.9, so about 0.9 automobiles per driver, okay, in 1987. So a little bit less than 1. Okay, so let's determine the equation of the quadratic regression curve based on this data, and let's use that equation to estimate how long it would take a single person to complete the project. Okay, so notice we have the number of team members and then the time it takes to complete the project. So the number of team members is the input variable, so we're going to call that L1. The time it takes to complete the project is the output, so we're going to call that L2. So let's go ahead and go to Stat Edit, and then let's clear what we have. So that we can go ahead and input these values. So I'm going to pause the video so that you can go ahead and type in these values to L1 and L2. All right, so now we have our data all entered into our table. So we're going to click Stat, arrow to calculate, go down to quadratic regression, hit enter, and then keep hitting enter until calculate is highlighted, then click enter again. And it gives us the values we need to write our equation, right? So we have Y equals 0.122 x squared, okay? And then B is negative 3.4649x, and then we have 28.34 for C, so plus 28.34. Okay, so that is our equation. And now it wants us to use it to estimate how long it would take a single person to complete the project. Okay, so a single person would mean the number of team members is 1. Okay, so if we plug in x equals 1, we have y equals 0.122 times 1 squared minus 3.4649 times 1 plus 28.34. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do all of this on my calculator. So I have 0.122 times 1. 1 squared is just 1, but you can type that in if you want to. So minus 3.4649 times 1, and then plus 28.34. Okay, so just hit enter, and it calculates it for us. So it says y equals 24.9971, right? So it's going to be about 25 hours for a person to complete the project on their own.